Hey, everybody. Welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Kirby. And of course, we talk with people who are going to help our small and medium-sized nonprofits do good better. And now you're probably looking at the calendar. It's a handful of weeks into the new year, and that to-do list is probably growing. And that nagging thing in the back of your brain about the item that you wanted to accomplish or the thing you wanted to start, or maybe you want to start your own nonprofit. You want to go from your own nonprofit to a new one, but you don't have everything perfect. And you don't know if you have the skill set it's going to take. And you don't really have anybody to push you over the edge to actually give you permission to do it. Well, good thing. I've got a guest that's going to today. Krista Kleiner, she is the founder and executive director of the One Heart Movement, is our guest today. And I think she's got something up her sleeve to help you, our guest. Krista, thank you for joining the official Do Good Better podcast.
Thank you, Patrick. Gosh, you are better than a cup of coffee.
I like that a lot. Well, listen, I'm very excited to chat with you today. But if someone's scrolling through iTunes, they're scrolling through YouTube, they like the idea of this topic, but they don't know who you are. Dang them. You should probably give them a great introduction. Give us a 5,000-foot view of who you are, what you do, and why we're chatting today.
Well, Patrick, like many people, I felt called to do something to contribute more during the pandemic when things got really rough for people, and really see myself as a citizen of the globe. And so I created my own nonprofit, the One Heart Movement, as you said, out of that desire to just help more effectively. But my background is work-wise a television host. I've got into producing some concepts, still with the idea of doing good, just in different ways. I've been a spokesperson for a number of different organizations, nonprofits, but largely stemming from after I won Miss Philippines in 2010, so long ago now. but you know, my mother is Filipino from the Philippines. I was a teacher. My father is American. It's opposite and can be in many ways, college professor, business management, but also an expert witness in wrongful termination, racial discrimination, sexual harassment. And my parents, you know, I saw them working together growing up on that in a ways to help other people find justice. And I also saw how two people who are very different could get along. And I think that's really key in my story, because that's so fundamental to who I am. And this idea of us, you know, focusing on differences is really not natural to me. And I realized I'm just fortunate that I had a unique experience with my parents. And I think that played into the mission of the One Heart Movement, which is to foster unity and well-being through the power of community love. And we can dive into more like the specifics of what that means to me. But you know, that's me in a nutshell. You know, love the performing arts, love to do good. I've always seen career and success as a means to being better able to give back, and trying to make it as enjoyable as I can along the way, but really seeing that as my life purpose. And you know, just so happy to have a chance to pursue that with other great people.
It's an audacious goal out of the gate to state that, listen, we're going to make, you know, a more peaceful, more harmonious globe, let alone my own microcosm of a community, which I love. And that only explains the audacity and, dare I say, the craziness of starting your own nonprofit, because that's what crazy people do. And I love it, because it's not for everybody. It's kind of bonkers. But what was it about your platform that you thought, you know what, I can make this into a nonprofit. I think this is a good idea, so we're going to do it. What was that?
You know, I can't say it started off as my own idea, like, to be honest, that I could do this. And I think that is something that I think other people can relate to as well. Like, we're raised, we're programmed in ways that I think we don't even realize to have self-limiting beliefs. And I'm very much the case. In my situation, I was thinking I was too old to pursue music at 18. Like, that's ridiculous. Or like, I don't know, or to not pursue anything so young. It was really the people around me that helped me feel empowered that it was strong enough to be its own idea, and also that got behind me to make that a reality. And I got to that point by just getting clear in my intention, right? Like, I want to help and I want to do this, and here's some ideas. And I took the time and I built decks and I presented it to friends and mentors who then helped me present that to other people. And somewhere down the line, someone said, I believe in you. I want to support this. I don't know how to invest in something that's a nonprofit, because this person's typically invests in helping build small businesses. I said, but why don't you find a lawyer that is in this space so we can help structure, my donation and support. And so made some calls, found it. And this is where network is really important, right? And building community is so important, because we don't need to know everything and we shouldn't, but we build relationships that help. And so on that call with the lawyer, I let him know, look, I'm an ambassador for a couple different nonprofits. Can I just run this idea through one of their programs? It wasn't about having credit and starting my own. I did not think I was going to start a nonprofit and a company during the pandemic. That's the last thing I thought I was going to do. But when people can express their belief, and you're open to that trust, right? And open to being supported and growing and trying something out of our comfort zone. I think that's really how I got into doing this. And I'm so grateful for that. And it's been a lot of hard work. It is. He said it takes a little bit of that crazy gene to go after, I think, anything big, right? And I have to say, while it's been the hardest I've worked, and I've enjoyed many different types of careers, I'd say it's been the most fulfilling work that I've ever done. And what people say, that when you give, like, you get something in return, it's as cliche as it sounds, it's really true. And so I work 14-hour days sometimes, but I've never been happier, because what I'm doing is so fulfilling. The people I connect with and the way that we connect, right? What we're talking about, doing good for others, is something so special. And I really encourage people to just explore whatever that is for them, that, that ways that they want to give back, try it and just test it to see how good it makes you feel.
During the times where it sucks, like it's mound of paperwork, it's not people getting back to you, it's programs not working correctly, because nothing works as well as it does on paper at all. What are the couple of first conversations that you go back to, if that's the case? Are there early conversations where you mention limited belief, right? So we always think in scarcity mindset, not abundance, because it's their natural inclination. Like, I can't be possibly good enough to do this, or I can't possibly be qualified to do that. Are there conversations that you had originally in that first push that you go back to and say, this person believed in me, I can continue to go? Or do you just ramp up and just go, over the last couple of days, I've had these conversations? Or how do you get out of the funk of nothing's going according to plan? The way that I think most founders and most nonprofit fundraising leaders and that sort of have those moments of panic, and you throw their hands up and go, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
That's a really good question. And I think I touched on it a tiny bit at the beginning of how this all started, but expanding on that was building a team that really believes in me and has my best intentions and heart, and that also have a breadth of experience themselves. And so as I was sharing these ideas and I want to help do all these things, I realized the people who were willing to take that time with me, and who really willing to open doors for me and make introductions. And so I built what we call a board of directors, and an advisory board, or more loosely, just advisors, right? For people who maybe are not ready to make it so official. But I just for myself at the time, I started putting all these people on a website, right? To remind myself of who's in my corner and who I can turn to for different things. And that's played a really key role, because sometimes it's easy to, like you said, get overwhelmed and forget that we have so many great people that we can turn to. And I think that's key to any leadership roles is not trying to know it all, not trying to be the best at everything, but accepting that we don't know it all. We're not great at everything, but we can turn to someone who is or who knows. And that's really where I've gotten the bulk of my strength to keep pushing through things that I've never done before, is just knowing that I'm not in it alone and I could turn to people.
It's interesting to start a nonprofit during the height of a pandemic. It's probably equally as interesting to start a nonprofit about, sort of, again, equity and inclusion and loving others, where to an outsider looking into our society going, what on earth are people doing to each other? Whether it is this, sort of George Floyd explosion of sort of racial inequity being exposed at a scale that I don't think we've thought about in 50 years in the United States here. And then just other discouraging sort of political talk, whether you're on one side or another. And your movement, right, is about making sure that we're all like, listen, we're on a space rock that was formed 13.8 billion years ago, and we just happen to be chemical compounds that just randomly popped up. We should probably do better towards each other, sort of bit. Is there a piece of frustration, or was there an opportunity there for your organization to take angst that was, sort of, that's been there, or it's just exposed because we all have the internet now? Was there an opportunity? Was there a challenge? And what was that role in sort of creating what it is now? As part of this sort of the One Heart movement?
I think like anything, not just the nonprofit space, right? But innovation comes from the recognition of a need. And so I think in that similar vein, while I hadn't thought about doing this before, I felt the need to do it during this time because of exactly what you're sharing. I felt the divide more than ever at a time where I didn't understand. It felt to me like we should be more together than ever. Like we're going, I scratched my head as I say this, but we're going through a globally shared experience, a global pandemic. So it boggled my mind that we felt so divided and we were having all this. And so I realized that we just need someone to put attention here, right? Like we all have limitless potential and we can be pulled to negative, to the positive. We all, we're all human, no one's perfect, but if guided in the right direction or fed positivity and given the support and all these things, I really believe in the human race coming together and our potential. And maybe I'm a little bit of a dreamer, but I think that's okay, right? And that's just my way of channeling my own frustration. Instead of just being upset about it or complaining about it, I said, I'm just going to do something about it, and do my best and get as many people as I can to like team up with me, and let's just see. But even if it's just, with no expectation, let's just see what we could do. Even if we touch a handful of lives, that's great. And if we can do more bigger projects, we can grow from there. But my thought really was in figuring out what our mission statement would be, why I wanted to help healthcare workers initially, and then like these different groups facing racial injustice was, well, I want this to be a platform that can be ever evolving. And so our mission, like I mentioned earlier, is very broad intentionally, with the idea of unity, us coming together being the basis and the foundation to attacking any issue or any challenge, right? If we could just accept our differences, focus on our commonalities, our common ground, again, team humanity, and we can look at environment or racial injustice or gender inequality or poverty or all these things, just be on the same page, say, how can we help? And then the other part of this, at a time where mental health has just been seriously exacerbated, let's be mindful that we support each other to have well-being, because, hurt people, heal people, heal people. It's an interesting saying that stuck with me, that if we can help people be well, then those people go off and help other people be well, and it will just continue to compound. And through the power of community love, that the last part of our mission is really to empower each and every one of us, that we have the power to make a difference. And it's easy to feel otherwise in this big world with so many issues that can just feel beyond us. But that was the intention behind that. And, whether that's local community, national community, global community, like, let's not forget that, like, we are a part of something bigger than ourselves, and what we can accomplish when we come together, is just limitless.
I often find that the nonprofit sector, especially leaders in the fundraising realm, often forget why they do what they do, because of the amount of paperwork, because of the amount of to-do lists, because of the 10,000 things that they have to do. And that's really one of the things that's scariest, is that if you sort of have this burnout because you forget your origin or the impact that you make, like, that becomes number one priority. Like, hey, what have you done in the last 2 weeks to make the world a better place, or your local community, or those that you serve a better place? Mm-hmm. That constant reminder gets you back in the saddle. Go, oh yeah, that's why I work 14 hours a week, or that's why I went the extra mile here, is because I know I'm going to make a difference. Can you talk a little bit about, brag a little bit? I don't mind. This is going to be a time for you where you can get reminded every once in a while of some good that your organization has done. And what do you sort of tell people if you bump into them at a restaurant or a bar on the street and say, hey, what is this? What do you do here? What sort of impact stories do you share on a regular basis that make you feel good, and then everybody else go, oh, I want to be a part of that?
Oops, sorry, you cut out for a second. Impact stories. Well, it's so interesting. We only launched in February. It hasn't even been a year, but I feel like I've been in full sprint ever since. We started off very simply by doing in-person hospital giftings for nurses and healthcare workers on their shift change. At this time where they were taking a brunt of the impact of the pandemic, we thought, showing up and just expressing our gratitude with some flowers and balloons and gifts. And we started doing this on Valentine's Day as a day to be like a day of community love, not just romantic love. We launched a social campaign to help help put a burst of positivity on social media at a time where there was a lot of darkness. And we encouraged people to just post a video or photo of their hands in the shape of a heart, and saw that explode globally, 5 continents, 20 million hits, like different people supporting, really just showing that people want to express positivity. And that was so beautiful. And from there, we went on to supporting a film on mental health, suicide prevention and recovery with Deepak Chopra and the Chopra Foundation. And I came to learn suicide is the second leading cause of death from people from the ages 10 to 35. Every 40 seconds before COVID, someone was taking their own life. So imagine now. And so that was really a gift for us to be able to jump on that project and support that. Thank you so much. Sorry, 1 second. Multitasking, as you know, running a business. Sorry. And I will say there's something too that, like, I couldn't have planned to do a lot of the things that we did, but it was really just setting the intention from the beginning that I think opened a lot of doors. Because when I would meet people, they would say, well, we're doing something with Deepak Chopra and the Chopra Foundation. It seems really aligned with where your heart's at, and we'd like to partner. So being open to different things has played a big role in how we've done as much as we have this year. I was asked to host the Asian World Film Festival, and being half Asian, obviously my heart was breaking at seeing the rise in Asian hate crimes in America, up 75% 2020. And I thought I really wanted to do something. I'll start with hosting, but found out they needed some sponsorship. And so we jumped on to sponsor the Asian World Film Festival, which supports films from 50 countries, not just typical Asia, but the continent of Asia, reach from Russia to the Middle East to India and Africa even this year. So that was really a special way, a different way of showing support, helping empower storytellers, because, film has a way to transform the way we relate to each other. So that's how we contributed to what was going on there. On World Environment, we launched a One Heart Forest program. And I had learned no history really environmentalists at all, but that one of the biggest struggles of environmentalists is to make people feel connected to their environment. We have this feeling of like disconnection, the other, like, and even with other humans, let alone, plants. So I thought, well, we were going through a globally, shared experience. It's pandemic. What's something we cannot relate to? The human loss. And so we made a goal to plant a tree on behalf of every life lost to the global pandemic as a way to kind of help bridge that. And so we started in Tanzania, and which is, it's interesting because you can plant trees anywhere and it will help the globe, especially when you do it on a large scale, but it's much more expensive to do in the United States. And we had the opportunity to partner with people to plant in Africa. And we are now over 300,000 trees in. We're empowering women with a 90% female workforce. We have green school programs for the children to learn about the environment and carry that information on for generations. 17 varieties of trees, including fruit trees, so sustainable livelihoods. And I thought, well, I love the impact that we're having. And when I saw the videos of the women planting and the children, I was like, I was in tears. Like, this is so real. I said, well, we set this audacious goal, right, of planting 5 billion trees as a brand new organization. What if we expanded the One Heart Forest into different countries around the world? And this is this very symbolic gesture of us coming together to help serve our planet, to honor the lives we've lost, to honor, and moving on from that, honor all the people we care about, because we all need this planet to survive, right? And just thinking of things differently, being innovative in that sense to see if it will resonate with people in a different way. Because a lot of people are talking about planting trees, and so we're now expanding into the Philippines, which happens to be the place, the country most at risk for climate disasters, as we've seen with typhoons. It's ridiculous. It's awful. And now looking to do that in California as well, seeing how we can push for it to be in the curriculum for children before they graduate, to plant a certain number of trees to help them learn. Also feel like they're making a difference in their community as well to help their mental health. And so we're getting really creative now and getting into all sorts of partnerships, and we haven't even hit the first year. So I'm really excited about everything to come in the coming.
I'm glad you're getting to the Philippines, because we just ranked in the top 10 on iTunes there. So this will be like, we'll be number one with you as a guest. Clearly, it's gonna be great. One of the things that I love most about this, and you to an extent, because it matches well with my personality of being like a glass almost overflowingly full. And I think to people who don't live in that positivity bubble, it can be seen as, and I know I've gotten, like, you can't be always that enthusiastic. Well, yeah, I can, because I get to do awesome things, because I get to talk with people about their nonprofit or whatever. How do you are there people, or are there sort of the reactions of like, well, that's nice, but the naysayers of like the audacious goals of planting 5 million trees across multiple continents, right? They're the ones that go, well, that's adorable, but how do you, because founders have this all the time, they get to a certain level, they get to a certain a piece, and all of a sudden now folks who either have their own regrets about not starting something, or are sort of trying to be like, well, yeah, but it's the yeah buts people.
Yeah.
How do we counter the yeah buts people? And what do you use as a technique that you can help sort of the other founders and the other nonprofit leaders counteract that, and to keep up their positivity and their momentum the way that they feel good about doing without getting dragged down by others?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a very valid and an important thing to consider. In my own experience, I had board members that couldn't really keep up with all these ideas and different programs that we were creating, and I appreciate someone who's going to play devil's advocate. And this is where I think it's so key to be surrounded by people that you trust and that has the best intentions for you, because I don't really even try to listen, or I try to keep myself in a bubble away from anyone that's going to drag me down that doesn't fit that. And I think that's key. And we have to be careful of what information we take in, the energies we surround ourselves with, and because it's all going to affect us. So what I would say is it's good to hear people out and take the time to really think about they're saying, but you don't need to listen necessarily, right? Like at the end of the day, you're the boss of you, whether you're the boss of the company or not. And so we all, people have their own self-limiting beliefs, and they may have their own frustrations, and they may have, who knows? But if you believe in something and your intuition tells you to do it or go for it, or if it's right, I think there's no better investment to invest in ourselves and to invest in our vision, and no one else is going to do it. And take as much guidance as you can that will help, and leave whatever isn't going to help behind. But getting good at filtering those things, I think, is an ever evolving lesson that we can all have, right? Even from our loved ones to people outside of that bubble. But really just getting really honed in on what our vision is and what we want, and knowing who we are can help be a starting point with that.
I like the two things that you're helping give permission to do, which is number one, permission to trust your gut. If you don't like where it's going, you know where you need to be, you know what you need to do, trust your gut. And then it's also a permission not to know everything and recruit those who do to help. Sometimes we forget we don't have to shoulder everything. We don't have to worry about everything. That's why we, hire people. That's why we, recruit talent. That's why we have a board member of leaders that match our enthusiasm, but maybe complement our gaps in knowledge. And getting permission to do that, I think, is a super important thing, especially if you're a small nonprofit that doesn't really have the resources that a larger institution might. But it's giving permission to do those things is such an important thing. So I can't appreciate you enough to reiterate that over and over again. So take time and just replay that over and over again. Go listen back to this podcast, go back to this timestamp and just listen to it. Because I think that's so important. That's such an important thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I fully accept that we're a student of life forever. And to celebrate that, I think, gives room for that, and I appreciate how you articulate that, Patrick, because it is one of the bigger lessons, not just for a company, but in life, right? Like there's always room for growth, and that's part of the fun things that we get to experience continuously.
Now, usually I don't get to have like breaking news on this podcast. Usually I don't get to like be the first. Usually just, sort of expanding pieces of information. However, a little birdie told me that the One Heart movement has a few fun little celebrities. And I'm using that facetiously because they are not little celebrities. They're very massive celebrities who have taken upon themselves to sort of join you in sort of getting the word out about what you're trying to accomplish, and really sort of help put on the map what you've already started. If it's okay, I would like you to have, the floor is yours to talk about some of the bigger names that have joined you since the beginning of the year in sort of celebrating what you've got going on and how you're going to push into 2022. And I will listen with bated breath and take copious notes on who these folks are because, that's pretty awesome. So tell us who gets to join your Cool Kids Club.
No, thank you, Patrick. The end of the year, we're very excited to see posts from Maroon 5 in support of our One Heart Forest program. Val Kilmer as well, Robbie Robertson. We have Art. If you have a Philippine audience, I think they can appreciate this. What launched our nonprofit One Heart Handoff Challenge is a very talented choreographer, creative director, Phil Tayag, who's the choreographer and creative director to Bruno Mars. And so he's been on board from the beginning. But one of the things we did at the end of last year is we hosted the first ever Filipino American Creative Summit in Washington, D.C. in partnership with the Philippine Embassy and the White House. And we have the support now of Arnel Pineda, who's the lead singer of Journey, and a number of other incredibly talented Filipino American creatives. One, for example, Byron is the VP of global creative at Capitol Records, and just Dante Bosco is another household name. And just it goes on, but really it's continuing to grow, and we're so excited. Again, not even the end of the first year, and our arms are wide open to everyone, like not just celebrities, right? Like just anybody that wants to do good. Like, we all have our own gifts, right? And I like the celebrity can help amplify the voice in a way, but behind the scenes are a lot of other incredible people who are just happy to give their time, make a connection. You can see a number of them on our website, not just our board, our advisory board, our partners, and we're always looking to partner up with and work with other people. And so I'd love to encourage anyone who would like to collaborate with us to check out our website, the oneheartmovement.org, and join us in what I call is our One Heart family.
I love it. I knew from the get-go this was going to be one of those conversations where we just get to ping off positivity off one another, and it was going to be super great. And again, I encourage everybody to go check out the website and go check out ways that they can connect. And we'll put all those in the show notes, of course. If there's one sort of or two, I'll give you two. You can take three. I don't care. Kind of things you're very excited about in the year 2022, the expansion, year number one celebration. What are some additional goals that you have? What are things that you're excited about that you're really looking forward to celebrate and promote in the upcoming year?
As I mentioned, this idea of the One Heart Forest program expanding into different countries, it's something that makes me really excited to see that we can have really beautiful, intimate impact with local communities that also at the same time is having impact on our global community, right? By helping the environment. And so with all these new partnerships, looking forward to seeing that this project take off in different countries around the world and eventually visiting these places, right? And we'd like to open it up for people to visit as well and create a program where people can enjoy the nature and boost their creativity. And so that's something very much looking forward to. And we have now people who are reaching out saying, hey, like, I love what you're doing, your heart's at. I'd love to do something with kids who've lost their parents. I know I've mentioned I care about that. And so people now are coming up with, I want to donate this amount of money to be allocated towards that program. And so we're getting now into facilitating these sorts of things that are very much catered to an individual's interest. And so I'm excited to see people now voicing their own passions of something that resonates with them and doing our part to help bridge that and turn that into action and connecting the communities in different ways. And kind of like this year, I never thought at the beginning that we would get into all the things that we did. So I'm going to kind of keep with that as just keep an open heart. The attention is there. And when opportunity comes up to do good, just jumping at it and getting together the right people to make it happen.
And that's a fantastic message to end on. And I encourage everybody to go check this out, go connect with Krista, figure out how you can help and you get connected. And then I'm going to go back and listen to this like 4 or 5 times. Anytime I'm like needing a boost of positive energy, I'm going to go listen to this particular episode. Krista, thank you so much for being a guest. It was a pleasure talking to you, pleasure meeting you, and best of luck rocking out year number 2 with your nonprofit, the One Heart Movement. Thanks for being a guest here on the official Do Good Better podcast.
Thank you, Patrick.